Hi everyone, this is Andra, Mandy, Sonia, Gabrielle, and Bree, and this is our neuromuscular physiopathology video tutorial. Today we'll be going over basic P&S sensory pathways that result from a painful stimuli. So first, let's look at this pathway on a big picture level. The pain signal originates in the hand and travels up the median nerve. The signal travels through the brachial plexus and into the spinal cord via spinal nerves C6 through T1. From here, it travels up the spinal cord and into the brain to the primary somatosensory cortex.
Ouch!
Now we're going to look at this pathway in a little more detail. We have thousands of receptors in our skin that specialize in picking up different stimuli. Nociceptors detect noxious stimuli, which refers to anything that has the potential to cause tissue damage. Extreme temperatures, high threshold mechanical stimuli, and various chemicals all may cause activation of nociceptors. When nociceptors are activated, they send a signal through free nerve endings located in the epidermis of the skin. The signal travels through a first-order neuron towards the spinal cord. The signal then enters the dorsal root of the spinal nerve. Cell bodies of the sensory neurons are located in the dorsal nerve root ganglion. From here, the signal enters the dorsal horn of the gray matter of the spinal cord.
In the dorsal gray column, the first-order neuron synapses with the second-order neuron. The neurotransmitter that is released in this synapse differs depending on the types of vesicles it is released from. Primary afferent neurons have two types of vesicles in their terminal bulbs. 1. Small electron translucent vesicle, containing glutamate and excitatory amino acids. And 2. Larger vesicles containing neuropeptides. These transmitters are released and cross the synaptic cleft to synapse with a secondary neuron. Here, in the dorsal horn, a process can occur called the gate control theory. The gate control theory describes the body's ability to modify the sensory perception of pain. Have you ever noticed how, when you feel pain but are concentrating very hard on another feeling, you don't notice the pain as much? This occurs because of the body's ability to balance nociceptive input with input coming from other neurons that also synapse in the dorsal horn. These other neurons are also primary afferent neurons, but have a low threshold and are myelinated, whereas the primary afferent neurons carrying nociceptive signals are unmyelinated. There are three main players that contribute to the gate control theory: the A-alpha and A-beta myelinated, non-nociceptive neurons, the dorsal horn projection neuron, and an inhibitory interneuron. The projection neuron can also be called the second-order neuron and sends a signal up to the brain. The inhibitory interneuron inhibits the projection neuron. The projection neuron can be activated by both the low-threshold myelinated fibers and unmyelinated fibers. When the low-threshold myelinated fibers are active, they synapse with the inhibitory interneuron, reducing the activity of the projection neuron. In this way, the body can dampen the feeling of pain that ultimately gets transmitted up to the brain.
So, modified or not, the first-order neuron is going to synapse with the second-order neuron. We know that the stimuli are picked up on the left side of the body and are ultimately sent to the right side of the brain, and vice versa. So here, the second-order neuron goes across the spinal cord through the ventral commissure. It enters the spinothalamic tract on the opposite side, and then starts to travel up toward the brain. The second-order neuron continues up to the medulla through the spinothalamic tract. When it enters the brainstem, the collection of sensory fibers becomes the spinal lemniscus. The axon of the second-order neuron terminates in the thalamus, where it synapses with the third-order neuron. The third-order neuron carries a signal to the appropriate cortex of the brain. In this case, the primary somatosensory cortex. This area of the brain processes the pain signal and determines how to react. During stress reactions, pain can be suppressed in favor of more adaptive behavior. For example, soldiers wounded in battle. The stress can stimulate both opiate and non-opiate induced pain suppression.